Funny thing about strength, everyone wants it, but no one wants the path that builds it. They want the shine without the scars, the armor without the war. They want to be mentally strong while living in glass houses, praying no one throws a stone. But strength, real strength, it doesn't show up wrapped in comfort. No, it crawls out of chaos, out of those moments when your mind is screaming and your hands are shaking and the world just won't shut up. That's where it's born, between the cracks, in the quiet, in the messed up pain. Now that's an honest friend. Doesn't lie to you. Doesn't pretend, doesn't sugarcoat the truth with false comfort or dress up your flaws in polite applause. No, pain shows up uninvited, kicks the door in, and dumps reality in your lap like shattered glass. And you can either sit there bleeding, whining about how unfair it is, or you can start picking up the pieces, slowly, carefully, and see what shape they make when you put them back together differently. People run from pain like it's some kind of disease, like hiding from it will keep them clean, pure, untouched. But all it does is keep them weak, soft, unprepared. Because if you never bleed, how do you expect to build calluses where it matters? See, they've been told pain is bad, pain is wrong, pain means something's broken. That's the fairy tale. That's the bedtime story they were fed to keep them obedient. But real life, real life doesn't care about bedtime stories. Pain isn't the villain. It's the sculptor. The one that chisels away the lies, the illusions, the delusions. The one that carves out the real you from all the nonsense you were pretending to be. Every punch to the gut, every night spent screaming inside your own head, every moment you wanted to give up, but didn't. That's the training. That's the sharpening of the blade. That's the part no one wants to talk about when they post their little success stories and humble brags. They skip the blood. They skip the silence. You don't read pain. You feel it, deep in your bones. And when you finally stop trying to escape it, when you stop fighting the very thing that's trying to make you stronger, that's when things start to shift. That's when the voice in your head gets quieter, not because it stops screaming, but because you stop flinching. You learn its language. You learn to hear what it's trying to teach you, not just what it's trying to take from you. Because pain doesn't show up to destroy. It shows up to expose, to reveal what's weak, what's fake, what's untested. And once you know that, once you really get it, pain becomes something else. It becomes a compass. You start chasing it, not recklessly, not masochistically, but intentionally. You start putting yourself in places that stretch you, challenge you, threaten to break you, because you know that's where the gold is buried. Everyone wants to be unbreakable, but no one wants to be broken first. It's laughable. They want the strength without the suffering. They want the throne without the scars. But the strong ones, they wear those scars like medals, like proof. Proof they made it through the fire and came out different. Not cleaner, not prettier, just realer. There's a kind of madness that comes with accepting pain, of freedom. Because once you stop fearing it, they can't use it against you. They can't manipulate you with comfort or bribe you with safety. You become dangerous. Not because you're violent, but because you're no longer controlled by fear. And that terrifies them. A person who feels pain but doesn't run, that's a wildfire. That's someone they can't predict, can't box in, can't tame. The trick is to stop asking, why is this happening to me? And start asking, what is this trying to make me? That's where the strength is. In the transformation. In the ability to take the hit and not just survive it, but use it. Mold it, wear it like armor under the skin. And the more you do it, realize most people aren't weak because they were born that way. They're weak because they were protected, coddled, given soft landings when they should have been left to crawl through the wreckage and find their own spine. You become mentally strong when you let pain sit beside you, light a cigarette, and tell you all the things no one else dared to. When you stop turning away from it like it's the enemy, because it's not the pain that destroys people. It's their refusal to face it, to feel it, They bottle it up, bury it, numb it with smiles and fake laughs until it festers and eats them alive from the inside out. But you let it talk. You let it scream. You let it shape you. And somewhere in that madness, in that raw, unfiltered chaos, something sharp and unshakable starts to take root. Validation. Oh, what a sweet little drug. Tastes like approval, smells like acceptance, feels like safety until it wears off. And when it does, you're left scratching at your skin, trying to remember who you were before all the claps and nods and polite little smiles convinced you that being liked was the same as being real. They hand it to you like candy. Good job, well done, you're one of us. But here's the joke, they only clap when you play by their script. Step off it for 1 second, change the rhythm, change the tone, and suddenly the applause stops. Funny how fast silence feels like betrayal when you've been addicted to their noise. Most people aren't licensed. They're performing, dressing themselves in expectations, walking on stages built by other people's comfort zones and mistaking approval for identity. They want to be told they're enough over and over again because they don't believe it unless it comes with an audience. That's the trap, the leash, the invisible collar no one talks about. You start bending your voice, shrinking your thoughts, second-guessing your thought stinks just to keep the room from getting too quiet, just to avoid being the one they whisper about. But if you're strong in the head, if you're really strong, you stop chasing that noise because you figure it out. Eventually, that their approval is a cage with velvet walls feels nice until you realize you can't move, can't grow, can't breathe unless someone else says, go ahead. And you sit there decorating your prison cell with compliments and likes and gold stars, thinking you've made it. But freedom? That starts the moment you stop giving a damn about whether they understand you. The moment you stop needing them to clap every time you take a step. Because once you depend on it, they own you. And it's subtle. Oh, it's sneaky. They don't say change for us, they say be relatable. They say don't make people uncomfortable. They say tone it down, and you listen, because being accepted feels safe. Until one day you look in the mirror and don't recognize the face looking back, not because it's changed, but because it's disappeared. You erased it piece by piece every time you adjusted just to fit in. That's the cost of their love. That's the price of staying liked. But the strong ones, the ones who make people uncomfortable just by existing, they stopped asking for permission, stopped chasing validation like a starving dog. They built a different voice, one that doesn't need applause to keep speaking, one that doesn't shake when the room goes cold. And that voice, it's dangerous, because it doesn't just say what's allowed, it says what's true. Even when it's messy, even when it's hated, even when it breaks all the nice little rules about what you're supposed to say, you don't detach from validation by pretending you don't care. You detach by watching how it controls you, how your decisions get quieter when someone's watching, how your courage depends on how many people are clapping. You watch it long enough to see the strings, and once you see them, once you're cutting, not all at once, not dramatically, just one thread at a time, until you say something real and no one responds, and you don't flinch. Until you show up as yourself and no one cheers and you don't crumble. That's power. They'll say you're arrogant, they'll say you're cold, they'll say you're cold, but what they really mean is you stop needing us. And that makes them nervous, because most people are playing a game, a quiet, desperate game of please like me. And when you walk off the board, when you burn the rulebook and start laughing at your own scars instead of hiding them, you ruin the illusion. You become a mirror they didn't ask for, and what shows up in that mirror? Oh, they hate it. Themselves, their fear, their silence. So they'll try to pull you back with guilt, with shame, with compliments dipped in poison. But once you've tasted the freedom of your own voice, there's no going back. You see the applause for what it is, a trick, a leash with a pretty bow. You don't need it, not anymore, because you're not performing. You're not dancing for tips. You're not molding yourself to fit into their idea of acceptable. You're you, uncensored, unfiltered, unbothered. And that kind of presence, it doesn't ask to be understood. It demands to be respected chaos. That's where most people lose their minds. The noise gets too loud, the pressure builds, and boom, meltdown. Panic, shaking hands, heavy breath, eyes darting for the exit. They're not used to it, can't handle it. They were raised on comfort, spoon-fed structure, every step planned, every risk padded, but the moment life throws them into the fire, they scream the vibe. Like they were promised peace, like the universe owes them silence. But it doesn't. It never did. And the ones who survive, know, thrive are the ones who don't just walk through chaos. They study it. They make it home. See, most people are taught to run from the storm, find shelter, wait it out. But no one tells you that the storm never really ends. It just changes shape. So while they're busy hiding, waiting for things to get back to normal, the mentally strong are learning how to move in the madness. They're building their rhythm inside the noise, finding patterns in the unpredictable, smiling when the sky cracks open because they know this is where the weak break and the sharp ones sharpen. You want to know the secret. It's not calm that makes you powerful. It's calm inside the chaos, that quiet place behind your ribs when everything outside is screaming. That stillness you build not because the world is quiet, but because you've made peace with the fact that it never will be. The strong ones don't wait for perfect conditions. They don't need silence to think. They don't need soft to breathe. They adapt, like shadows, like fire. They adjust to the heat and make it theirs. It's not about pretending it's fine. No, no, no. That's the mask the fragile wear. The I'm okay lie that cracks under pressure. Mental strength doesn't mean you feel nothing. It means you feel everything and still keep your grip. Still hold your line. While everyone else is flailing, you're listening. While they panic, you're calculating. Not because you're cold, but because you've danced with chaos before. You shook its hand and laughed in its face. And now it doesn't scare you anymore. You want to build that kind of strength. Good. Then stop trying to control everything. That's the first step. Control is a myth. A bedtime story for people who fear uncertainty. The strong don't chase control, they chase clarity. Clarity in their choices. Clarity in their reactions. They don't waste time blaming the storm. They study the wind. They don't ask for less noise. They train their ears to hear through it, and here's the part no one likes to admit. Calm is a skill. It's not gifted, not inherited. You practice it in chaos, on the edge, when your back's against the wall and your mind wants to break. You breathe anyway, you stay anyway, you decide not to lose your center, even if everything else is on fire. And eventually your mind gets the message. That fear doesn't lead. That panic doesn't win. That silence inside isn't something that shows up, it's something you build. The world wants reactors, puppets, people who flinch when poked, explode when provoked. That's easy to control. But someone who stays still in chaos, who doesn't rise to every bait, who doesn't lose their mind, just because the room is burning, that person is dangerous. That person sees everything. They don't just survive the chaos, they use it. They collect the pieces while everyone else is scattering. They hear the lies beneath the noise. And when the smoke clears, they're already 2 steps ahead. Chaos isn't your enemy. It's your training ground. The place where your nerves are tested, your thoughts are sharpened, and your mind either collapses or crystallizes. Most people crumble because they expect peace. You stop expecting. You start preparing. You stop begging the world to be easier and start building a mind that can handle anything. Because once you know how to stay calm in hell, nothing can scare you. Not rejection, not betrayal, not failure. You've already met the monster. And you shook its hand with a grin. Failure, oh, what a terrifying little word. Sends shivers down spines, makes people freeze like they've seen a ghost. Everyone's so scared of it, like it's some dark, creeping curse that ruins everything it touches. But the funny part, it's the most honest thing life's ever given you. Doesn't wear a disguise, doesn't lie. It just shows up, breaks your plans, and says, try again. And people hate it because it doesn't care about their effort. It doesn't care how bad they wanted it. It just is cold, brutal, pure. But see, some of us, we figured out that failure isn't a grave, it's a forge. Every time you fall, something burns off. Ego, illusion, weakness. And what's left behind? That's the good stuff. That's the raw material you build real strength from. But most people don't get that. They take failure personally, like it's a verdict on their worth. Like it means they're not enough. So they hide from it, avoid it, dance around it like it's contagious. But all they're doing is locking themselves out of the very thing that could have turned them into something sharper, harder, realer. The world told you failure is something to avoid. They taught you it's embarrassing, a mark of shame. They never told you it's the doorway, the test, the grindstone. Because if you haven't failed, you haven't risked. And if you haven't risked, you haven't lived. You've existed in a bubble, in comfort, in the lie that safety equals strength. But safety makes you soft, caution makes you dull, and pretending you're winning by never losing, that makes you a coward with good timing. You want to be mentally strong. Then you better fall hard, you better screw up, lose big, burn everything down and crawl out of it with nothing but your breath in your spine. You better feel the sting of getting it wrong over and over until your skin gets thick and your pride stops being your... Because mental strength isn't born from success, it's born from failure you didn't let stop you. It's born from humiliation, from missteps, from rejection, and still showing up the next day with your sleeves rolled up and a grin that says, "That all you got?" Most people quit because they confuse failure with finality. They think if something didn't work, it means they're broken. They think the road stopped when all it really did was twist. But the strong ones, oh, they expect it. They know it's part of the deal. They don't just take the hit, they study it. They look it in the eyes and say, okay, what did you come to teach me? Because failure doesn't mean you're done. It means you've been invited to level up, and the invitation is made of broken expectations and bruised egos. And here's the real joke, they act like failure means you're not good enough. But you can't get good without failing. You can't get tough without losing. They want the result, but not the process. They want the reward without the suffering. But suffering is the currency. Pain is the toll. You earn your grip by watching everything fall apart and not letting it take you with it. And you don't learn that in comfort. You learn that in the wreckage you fail and something cracks open. Something wakes up. It's not loud at first. More like a whisper. A growl in the dark. Telling you to try again. Not because it'll be easier, but because you're not done. That voice, that strength. That's the thing most people never hear because they stop listening after the first slap. They drown it out with excuses, with self-pity. But you lean in, you listen. You answer. It's funny how people want strength but not scars. They want wisdom but not wounds. But failure leaves marks on you for a reason. So you remember, so you evolve. So the next time the floor gives out, you don't panic. You don't fall apart, you adapt. You remember what happened the last time and you build something stronger this time. You stop fearing the fall because you've already proven you can survive it. You know now that every collapse just clears space for something better, something real, something that you forged in the fire with your own bloody hands and a crooked grin on your face. People walk around like they're in control. Like they've got their minds wrapped up tight, nice and neat, behind their smiles and their schedules and their scubbler. Overpriced coffee. But you poke just a little, and you'll see how fragile that control really is. One bad day, one betrayal, one moment where things don't go according to plan and the mask starts to slip. Because the truth is, most people don't know what the hell is going on in their own heads. They think they're in charge, but they're not. Their emotions are. Their impulses are. Their fears, oh, they're sweet little fears, they're driving the whole damn show. But here's where it gets fun. Real mental strength isn't about controlling the world. It's about knowing the storm that's brewing inside you. The real chaos. The one with your name on it. The one that knows where you're weak, where you're scared, where you break. See, most folks, they run from that. They cover it up with distractions, numbing habits, fake positivity. As long as they don't feel too much, they think they're fine. But they're not fine. They're just quiet. And quiet doesn't mean calm, it means suppressed. It means the pressure's building, just waiting for the right crack. Now you take someone who's mentally strong, they don't hide from their darkness. They sit with it, invite it in, shake hands with it and say, let's talk. Because if you don't face the monster inside you, you end up letting it run wild in the background, making your choices, sabotaging your wins, whispering poison into every good moment you ever had. People think the enemy's out there. No, it's in here, it's you. The untrained you, the undisciplined you, the you that acts before thinking and regrets before sleeping. They teach us to focus on the surface. Actions, words, appearances, but that's just the noise. The real game is happening behind the scenes. Mental strength starts with observation, watching yourself, noticing the lies you tell yourself when things get hard, catching that little voice that says, quit before they see you fail. That's the one. That's the liar. The coward. The saboteur dressed up like self-protection. And if you don't spot it, it'll ruin you with a smile on its face. The trick isn't to silence the chaos. You can't silence it. But you can train your mind to stop reacting to every damn feeling that passes through. Feelings are temporary. But decisions, those leave scars. Most people live on autopilot, sad, angry, distracted, tired, and they don't even know why. They think that's just life. But it's not life. It's a hijacking. It's your mind being held hostage by emotional junk you never cleaned up. You want strength. Learn to pause. Not the fake pause where you pretend you're thinking, but really you're just bracing. No, a real pause, where you observe, where you stop mid-thought and say, what am I about to do and why? Because once you start questioning your patterns, you start breaking them. And when you break the right ones, you start to scare people. You stop being predictable, controllable. You stop reacting the way they expect you to. You go quiet in a fight, calm in chaos, focused in failure. And that freaks them out because they were counting on your weakness, and that's where real power starts to bloom. When you stop identifying with your emotions and start studying them. You're not your anger. You're not your fear. You're the one watching it happen. And once you learn to watch without getting pulled into the drama, you get to choose your next move. Not just react, but respond. And that's the edge, that's the razor line between the people who fall apart and the ones who rise up. Everybody wants peace of mind, but no one wants to do what it takes to earn it. They want shortcuts, hacks, affirmations. But peace doesn't come cheap. It comes from dragging your demons into the light and saying, I see you, but you don't run this show. It comes from failing, breaking, screaming into pillows, and getting up and showing your face like none of our face like. And deep down, maybe it did. But you still chose your next step. And that's what separates the strong from the soft. Mental strength is allowed. It's not angry. It's not flashy. It's quiet, unshaken. It's sitting in a room full of chaos and not matching the volume. It's knowing who you are without needing to prove it. It's being fully aware of your madness, but not letting it drive the car.